especially myself, because I saw a change take place in him in the 2 weeks before his death, which was also precipitated by a new amphetamine prescription from a doctor. And I noticed his personality start changing. I noticed his eyes started changing, if that makes sense. It was him, but it wasn't him.
Yeah.
And he also told me he started hearing voices. So after he passed away, I was just totally broken and looking for answers. And that's when I came across your content, that there are entities, and they especially prey on people with various types of addiction, especially amphetamines, and that they can basically pretend to be of their voice. Like people believe that it is their own voice, but it isn't their voice. It's another voice. And this was completely paradigm shattering for me. And you also introduced me to Swedenborg, who believed that we are basically the choosers of who we listen to, that there's angelic voices from heaven and demonic voices from hell constantly interfacing, and we're the ones who give life to those voices.
Okay, so there's the idea of the concretization of the idea of the serpent becoming psychologized up into this figure of the adversary himself, and that abides within you. Analogously, perhaps, is this reference that Christ makes to himself in relationship to the snake. Because I thought, well, what's the passion? If the snake is what you're afraid of, then the passion is the sum total of all possible fears.
Identifying how that's related to the influence of the demonic, both in overt possession, but more commonly in obsessions and other things from demons.
Right, things that we might not even realize are portals.
Demons will engage in all kinds of conversations. See a partial figure or a shadow or something like that, and they're talking and saying all kinds of things to you, then that's a demon. Right? So there are different ways in which you can discern these things. They can't take the fullness of human form, all right? Because they're not human. The life principle of the soul is the spirit. So all living things have souls.
Correct.
All right? But not all living things with souls have spirit. Mm-hmm. It's the spirit in the human person that allows the soul to be immortal, which is the difference between animals, plants, and human beings. But the spirit and the soul are somehow distinct, even though they're intimately connected, all right?
Okay.
And then you have the soul, as I said, the soul spirit gives life to the body, which is what the human person is then. So this is where the distinctions come in there. So you can have a person who has genuine spiritual, maledictions, but it's going to certainly have effects on their mental state.
Temptations at different times. Can people fall into levels of possession, or is it more like mortal sin where it has to be an act of the will? How should we, I think there's probably listeners who are, am I possessed? Could I fall into this on accident? That type of thing.
Well, the first thing I would say is, if a person says, am I possessed? The chances are they're probably not, all right? True possession is the kind of thing where the demon takes over, and to a very large extent, the person becomes unaware of what is happening during the time of possession. They may have these times of blackouts where they don't remember certain special times.
Like in the Chosen TV series with Mary Magdalene.
What can I say? That's just what happens. That's what happens. This is going to sound a little bit frightening, but it's really true. There can be what we call partial possession, where a person is possessed, but they're aware of what is happening.
And when they're possessed, is their mind, is their spirit, or their body?
This is what I'm talking about. And first of all, it's all three.
Always all three?
Yes, all right. They're fully aware, but there can also be manifestations. I think of a person, for example, that I interviewed and I gave her a blessing. I placed my hands on her head and she began to vibrate and shake and all kinds of stuff just from a blessing, all right? And so there's a physical manifestation and she's aware that it's happening, but she can't control it. So that's partial possession. Then there is full possession, in which a demon will take over a person, and then in a certain sense the person will black out, and they're not aware of what they have done or what's going on during the time that the demon manifests itself. Interestingly enough, that's connected oftentimes to something that I'm going to be doing some more research on, to the phenomenon known as dissociative identity disorder. Indeed, we're going to be actually doing some research specifically on that topic.
Because that is not demonic. Is that correct? Or is it?
No, in itself, it's not. But you see, the point is that DID is oftentimes caused by trauma that the individual suffered many years ago, all right, in which, as a defense mechanism, they've kind of split off aspects of their personality in order to be able to find some kind of normalcy, so to speak. It's very similar in terms of its symptomology. So the question is, okay, is it DID or is it possession? The third element is there is a thing called perfect possession. And this is the one that's frightening, that most people don't know an awful lot about. Perfect possession is a situation in which an individual has freely chosen to give themselves totally to Satan. One case right now that I'm involved with, where a priest had already given himself, he was a secret Satanist, Catholic priest, all right, gave himself totally over to Satan. All right? So Satan has possessed the person totally, but the person has chosen that freely, okay? It's not like they did something. They made a conscious choice to give themselves. That's perfect possession. Those people you wouldn't even know because they don't manifest in the way that other possessions occur. So, and unfortunately, the kinds of people who do that sort of thing are the people we would call positions of power. They're going to be doctors, lawyers, police officers, judges. Those are the kind of, and those are the ones who are in control in society that are making the decisions that are sending everything to ruin.
That the deities of the occult world are feminine and masculine. I told you how that Kundalini Yoga, when the serpent power, this Kundalini power, rises up from the chakra at the base of the spine, its head comes up over the top of your head, which is the crown chakra. I told you, when was it, last Wednesday night or whenever the last time we met, I was talking about the pharaohs, and the pharaohs had remember, the serpent, the cobra, and that was one of their gods. When this cobra comes up over the top of the head, it is a feminine cobra. So the power that rises from the base of the spine, that goes up through the spine and comes out at the top, this power point is feminine. It needs to touch the masculine. The masculine is Shiva. Shiva is one of the Hindu tri-gods, or the trilogy of gods in Hinduism. There are three of the big ones: Brahma, Shiva, and Vishnu. And these three gods represent the Hindu trinity. So therefore, when this feminine goddess comes up over the top of the head and comes in contact with the male god Shiva, a samadhi takes place. This is a point of enormous enlightenment. This is a point of where the individual begins to realize the godhood within them, and they're enlightened, and they attain what's called samadhi. And just go look that up this afternoon when you have time.
I wanted to throw this in. This is why I did these videos, because I saw this on Facebook, I liked it, and I realized I was the 666th like. And it has the word deceit in it. So that's why I decided to focus on this video.
I believe people experience that because people are perfectly capable of having unutterably profound religious experiences. And the naturalistic materialists don't know what the hell to do with that. Say, well, it's delusional. It's like, well, hang on a sec. People who have those experiences appear to be more successful and healthier. It's like, so exactly in what manner is that delusional? And if you induce it in the lab with psilocybin, for example, among people who are dying of cancer, their fear of death goes away. You're going to just lay that out there as delusional, or you'll quit smoking. With one mystical experience on psilocybin, produces 85% cessation rate in smoking.
So it's a very physical thing. I mean, in a case like that, you talk about ayahuasca or any of these things, right? You're eating something, you're ingesting something, smoking it, whatever it is. It's physical, it's here and now, but the experience is metaphysical.
Sure, that's a place where the biological and the transcendent touch, and we don't know what to make of that.
Yeah.
Well, that's why psychedelics threw our whole culture into flipped this upside down. No one knew what to do with them. You know, I mean, the Indians regarded psilocybin as food of the gods for a reason. And when people have encountered psychedelic substances throughout human history, that's always how they've been characterized. That's right, food of the gods. It's like, beware of them. They open the door to the transcendent. Psychedelic substances are doing something that we seriously don't understand at all. Not a bit. Is overwhelming.
Not a bit.
Rick Strassman would say, well, you had a Jungian archetypal experience, or it was a dream, and they'd say, you don't understand.
Yeah.
And he got so distraught because of these continual reports that he had to stop doing the research.
Yeah,
and I'm not making a claim for anything metaphysical here, but I'm definitely pointing out that there are undeniable realms of human experience that involve religious experience and a sense of the infinite transcendent that look like they're healthy and that you cannot deny.
Yeah.
Well, so what are you supposed to do with that?
The rest of their lives outside of a framework of conscious will moving them in the direction of doing the right thing.
Jung told people, he talked about mescaline and LSD in the context of Huxley's introduction of those substances into the Western world. Jung was in that state when he wrote this book called the RedBook, which was just released last year, which is full of visionary illustrations and very strange poetry. And it contains the communications he had with imaginative beings that he conjured up when practicing doing exactly that. He practiced that for years, and he had these autonomous beings manifest themselves in his fantasy and had long conversations with them, while he was working as a doctor and having a sane, normal life. And he said two things in his inimitably wise manner. The first thing he said is, beware of unearned wisdom. It's like, yeah, man, that's great. And he also said, you have to be very careful about entering the realm of the gods, because you end up with a responsibility that might be more crushing than you can tolerate. Because he didn't say, well, none of this is real. He said, it's more real than you want it to be, and so watch the hell out.
I had an experience recently that I'm still trying to figure out. I don't know enough about it to really be explicit or tell any details. But what I do know is that the Lord Jesus Christ delivered me from something more powerful than a demon, and that he has all authority, that he is the lawgiver and the judge, and he is the God. And if he so chose, we could all be dust in a snap of his fingers. He killed 500 in the Old Testament. I don't know if it was kings or... He killed 500,000 men at once, smote them. So I think my point here is that the God that we serve is so much more powerful than any of these beings, even though the beings are so much more powerful than we are spiritually, in the spirit realm, and all of the things that we don't understand. And I think that's intentional. We see through a glass darkly. We're not supposed to understand the spirit realm while we're here. That's for the next realm. But while we're here, we need to be doing what God has commanded us to do. And a lot of preachers aren't preaching to their congregants and avoiding things like the spirit realm and prophecy and big parts of the Bible that they don't want to touch because it's the unknowns. To he that is given much is required. There's a certain amount of suffering that we are appointed to, and when we get to the other side, we are rewarded. Little acts of faith, small acts of obedience mean something to God, and he rewards you for it and will protect you. But I'm talking about the believer now. I'm talking about somebody who has the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God, which is the actual words that God spoke. But that's a whole other video. I can already hear, oh, but it was written in Hebrew and Greek, and it is where the power is at.